Hey everyone, thank you for joining the channel. If you have not already subscribed to the channel, please make sure you subscribe. If you find any value in the contents of the channel, please make sure you also subscribe and share the information with others. Right now, we are quickly approaching 1,600 subscribers. So if you go ahead and hit a like and share and subscribe, I would really appreciate it. If you don't already know, I'm Rashad, and this is our journey to 1,000,000. I look forward to continuing to provide content that you all find to be relevant, and I really appreciate your support. Today, I'm actually going to do a reaction to an article I read earlier, and let's go ahead and get started with this. So this article is titled, Delaying Big Purchases, Reducing Debt. 76% of adults are making lifestyle changes to prepare for a potential recession. 84% of adults say they are concerned that a recession is on the horizon. Additionally, 74% said their concerns about inflation have increased. If you are worrying about job loss during a recession, be sure to make arrangements to have sufficient emergency savings, experts say. So let's kind of talk a little bit about those key points. 84% of adults say they're concerned. That's pretty interesting. You would think that it would be a higher number. You know, maybe there are people who have quite a bit of money who don't worry about it. They don't feel like a recession will be a big deal for them. Maybe they think a recession will be a buying opportunity, an opportunity for them to continue to build wealth. So maybe that's why those other 16% of adults are not worried about a recession. And then you got the 26% of people who said that, you know, they have not had an increase in their concern. So, you know, that's a good thing. And of course, they say to make sure you are padding your emergency savings around this time, especially if you have one of those jobs or careers where it isn't necessarily, you know, that secure. Some people have secure careers and some people do not have secure careers. So if you have one of those jobs where it is likely that you can potentially lose your job, then it's probably a good idea for you to continue to build up those savings. Now, I think telling people to have padded savings is always a good idea, right? But if you particularly have a job where, you know, you don't necessarily have that much job security, it's probably that much better to provide a more sustainable and long-term emergency savings fund. So let's take a look at this. It says the majority of U.S. households are taking the possibility of an economic recession seriously. You know what? I think that's something we always should be paying close attention to. Always take these things seriously the moment you hear that it's potentially on the horizon. Let me see. It says the number one financial adjustment is delaying major purchases such as a house or a car. And that's followed by paying down debt and planning to cut back on holiday spending. So, you know what, I do firmly believe with a lot of the holiday spending, that is something you can definitely trim down on. You know, I'm in some of these minimalist groups, and in these particular groups, some people actually have gotten to the point where they don't accept gifts. They don't give gifts. They don't accept gifts. And what they have decided to do, rather than spending a lot of money, is to spend a lot of time with each other, provide a lot of experiences that they will remember basically for the rest of their lives. So they have done that not necessarily out of necessity, but they have done it just because they understand that when you have the holidays, you are loading up on various gifts. And a lot of time those gifts don't necessarily bring you happiness and joy. I can recall a time when my youngest child received a little toy car from one of the administrators at his school. And that was a Friday. By Sunday, that car was broken. He didn't even remember that he had the car almost a week later. So he got the car Friday, it was broken on Sunday, and then he wasn't even thinking about the car after that. The bottom line is, and the point is, that things only can bring us joy and happiness for so long until it's really just trash. So people are avoiding doing those things and spending money on something they feel is just going to be a waste anyway. So they're reallocating that towards either time, or they're reallocating that towards some kind of joyful experiences that they will never forget. And house and car, yeah, I mean, I think regardless of the situation you are in, regardless of whether or not it's a recession or a thriving, booming market, I think you always should buy a house or car only when you're ready. Don't try to anticipate what the market looks like. Don't try to anticipate that your house will gain 25% in the next year or 2 or 3. Just buy it after you have sat down and calculated your expenses, and you have figured out that buying a house will not be a financial curse. It will be a financial blessing to you, and you could absolutely afford it comfortably, and it will not hinder the rest of your financial goals. Same with a car. If you have the ability to buy a car, it doesn't matter what kind of market you are in. These kind of markets, recessions, bear markets, they do bring more fear in people for the most part, and they do allow people, or allow people to realize, like, hey, I need to take this seriously. I need to take it seriously, when I think we should be taking things seriously all along. So when we're in these bull markets, I think we should prepare for the bear markets by just loading up on our investments, getting out of debt, and doing those kind of things. But when we get into a bear market, I believe that your preparation should have already been done. So we got about 3,400 U.S. adults who were surveyed, and 74% of them, as we said, they have increased their concerns about inflation. They're not that confident. They're not that confident. And I will talk about my personal experience with this whole thing. Inflation remains stubbornly high. We already know inflation is absolutely bonkers right now. 8.2% over the last year. And it really is pinching household budgets. So let me tell you about my experience. I did a net worth video at the end of last year. Of course, I didn't give the particulars of the net worth. I just kind of talked about how it had increased that year in 2021. And then I talked about my goals for 2022. Little did I know we're going to be in such a ridiculous bear market basically all year. And we have put in quite a bit of retirement savings, but our net worth has reduced quite a bit. Like, I know that it is good when you are buying more shares of a particular index fund or a stock. It's great if you can get more shares for $100 than you would have gotten before for $150. Yeah, that's pretty cool. At the same time, people kind of judge themselves by what's their net worth. How am I doing? What's my savings rate? And we have had to cut back. I will do another video about our decision to cut back on our 403B contributions. I'll probably drop that in the next week. But we have reduced our savings rate considerably, and that is going to take place in the next pay period, which is going to be next week. And I will tell exactly why we did it. But we have definitely felt the pinch. A lot of our assets are illiquid assets, so they're in retirement accounts, in the the home. So a lot of our stuff is illiquid, and we are feeling the pinch right now. And it is definitely something that has affected us. Our grocery bill is a lot more than it had been in the past. Everything, we're feeling it. I don't feel the comfort I felt a year ago. I don't feel the comfort I felt 6-7 months ago. So we are definitely, I won't say at a struggle right now, but we're definitely at a spot where we need to change some things up. I texted my wife earlier and I said, hey, we need to have a budget meeting. We're going to have, I'm not going to say an emergency budget meeting, but we're going to have a budget meeting, and we're going to make that a standing monthly budget meeting to where we could talk things over and plan out for the month and review the previous month. And I also let her know that I want to go back to Financial Peace University and do those steps, do the things that got us where we are now. And that includes doing the cash envelopes. I think doing the cash envelopes will definitely help. I have made multiple videos about credit cards before, how I don't feel that they're a bad thing in itself. We've used multiple credit cards in the past and paid them off. We never carry a balance. However, I will admit that, using the credit cards at certain times, it can allow you to spend more than you would have. So let's suppose you want to go on a $3,000 cruise, and you have that money over there in your emergency fund, or you have it in one of your blow funds or something. Then you're like, oh, let me go ahead and use the credit card to pay that off, and then just pay off the credit card. Whereas if you knew that you had to just directly pay for that vacation with that account and not with a credit card, you might think twice. It's just kind of like, are you going to pay $30,000 cash for a car if you know you just have to write a check? Or would you rather just get like a $15,000 cash car? But it's easier to buy that $30,000 car if you go out and get a $400 monthly payment and then pay it off like with that same cash. It's just something about just getting rid of that big chunk of money up front for an item. It is not pleasant. It's definitely not something that you want to do, but we have definitely made adjustments, and we're going to make more adjustments as well. We definitely got to course correct because we see some opportunities coming for 2023, and we just need to be prepared. Having emergency savings is key. 6 months to a year's worth of income is what you should have in savings anyway. Bad things happen even when there's not a recession. I agree. So he's saying the 6 to 12 months. Most people say 3 to 6 months. He's saying 6 to 12 months worth of income. Some people say 3 to 6 months worth of expenses. So I really believe you need to sit down with your significant other. If it's you, sit down with your accountability partner and decide whether or not you want to do 3 months, 6 months, decide whether or not you're more comfortable doing income or whether or not you're more comfortable doing the actual monthly expenses that it would cost in order to survive. So it's multiple ways you can look at it, but I agree that it doesn't matter if you're in a recession or not. You should be, trying to load up and make sure you have an emergency fund, a healthy emergency fund ready just in case something goes down. My wife and I are in 2 very secure careers that we've been in for a long time, and we're in education, and we're not going anywhere. At the same time, when things come up, we need to be ready. We don't want to have to charge it on a credit card and pay off each month. We want to be able to pay it in full upfront, whether or not that's a credit card, and getting those rewards and then paying it right off, or just you go ahead and writing a check for whatever that may be. So you definitely want to have those emergency funds buffer, because if you're at a point where you have to work on paying off your debt, you get out of debt, then you have to go right back into debt. That's going to be very discouraging on your journey. High yield savings account. I do agree with high yield savings account in this market. I mean, emergency fund is more for the comfort. It's not for trying to get money. You are not trying to get rich by having an emergency fund. You are really trying to protect your assets and protect everything else that you're trying to do. That's basically it. And that is the end of this article. Hey, like I said, it's some tough times right now. Whether we are in a recession or not, I think we always need to be preparing ourselves for the worst. So you need to live for today while also preparing for tomorrow. And you need to be preparing for the worst thing that could happen. And also understanding that you need to not be afraid, but you need to be cautious. I'm a firm believer that we cannot be successful if we don't know where we're going, and doing things like having a budget or having a spending plan and doing things like getting out of debt. Those things will never get old. Those things will never hinder us from being financially successful. But hey, that's going to be it for today. I really appreciate you all for continuing to support. If you found any value in this particular video, please be sure to give it a like and share it. And once again, please subscribe to the channel. This is Rashad, and this is our journey to $1 million.